After that, CSK versus MI receiving a thrashing as CSK champions through. Noor Ahmed wins the season's first Classico for men in yellow. Everyone's talking about NZ player Ravindra.
And like we said, Aditi Pohankar on working with her sister in prayer. Grew up with athletes, how that shaped her. Her ashram, a tough call to make, and a Bobby Deol dynamic, what made it so tricky? We tell you all about what her dream role is actually made of.
And after that, we go to new KTM 390, the adventure, more grit, more glory. It's been upgraded, enhanced, and it's ready to ride. This is the KTM 390 Adventure 2.0. It's the all-new KTM 390. This is a review.
All right, a shift in the startup world is underway. Now, it's about who's funding them and how they are running now. Over the last few months, Indian startups, especially those backed by family offices, business houses and private equity firms, have been raising significant capital. We're talking about mature startups, seasoned operators, companies with 5 or 10 years of balance sheets, attracting institutional checks big enough to change how they operate. But it's not really going to the rest of them, which is the curious question. Some of India's most promising startups today are floated or backed by legacy business groups as well. So what's the trend here?
Right, not because of a good idea, but because
Yeah.
they're ready to scale within the structure. That's why they're receiving that kind of funding. And data released by a research firm, Venture Intelligence, that estimates that growth PE stage companies have doubled their PE VC investments to 1.1 billion in Jan and Feb of CY 2025. Now, where does that 1 billion number stand? Well, if you go back 1 year, the last year number was 594. So with just that comparison, it does look like a very, very positive number. But we'll go a little deeper right here on the show. The PE investment exclude those from any real estate sectors. Why the biggest shift in the Indian startup story might be who is funding these companies, where is the funding taking place, where is the funding not taking place, and the larger question of how do we increase risk appetite. With every new round, there's also an old way of doing things coming into the fray. Who do we have to discuss this with us today and break it down?
So lovely to have Pranav Chaturvedi here with us in the studio. Good morning, Pranav. Thanks so much for coming by and sharing a cup of morning coffee with us.
Thank you, Sonal. Thank you, Toya.
Of course.
So he is the founding partner and MD for FAFC Venture, am I saying that correct? Yeah, and Builders. So Pranav, when we look at these numbers, we spoke a little bit earlier about what this really say about a larger trend. You spoke about a 2022 shift being sort of an influx point. Take us through that.
So the VC space, we can actually divide that into absolutely two phases, from 2015 to 2022. And from 2022 onwards. So from 2015 to 2022, worldwide we had about a $1.2 trillion worth of investments that happened. And if you see that from a perspective from in 2022 itself, there was about $460 billion of investments that went in just the startup ecosystem worldwide. Put that in perspective, in India, we're talking of about I think 46 to 48 billion dollars that came in one single year. And that was the blow off year. That was the year when all the VCs started actually, just putting behind all the capital that they had on the lagging trend of digital. So digital was going away by 2022. The other reason from 2022 onwards is essentially the investments have now, we're really at that edge where we're looking at where should we really now invest in. AI has taken over. So we are seeing that founders will actually now start building companies with AI, may not need that much kind of capital. And therefore we are also shifting our focus towards traditional companies. We are looking at manufacturing, we are looking at, essentially family offices have come back and saying that, hey, do we now digitally transform ourselves? So all of that is now happening in the ecosystem. So I think 22 was a pivotal year. And from there on, I think we had a funding winter. the numbers that you see today are still very small compared to what the numbers were in 21 and 22. But we are seeing that investments in again AI, robotics, traditional companies, manufacturing. I think those are the kind of trends that we have started seeing.
Okay. So before we go a little
Fascinating,
deeper
yeah.
into the numbers, Pranav, I think a great comparison point would be interesting here. So compare us to, I know the typical comparison question is always China, but maybe compare us to a China, compare us to one more country, just so we can understand, because it's possible that that 2022 to 2025 trend is something that's taking place globally, that confusion in the markets, or is that an India-specific phenomenon?
It's a great question. So from 22 onwards, I think one thing that happened worldwide, and I'll put India in the center because we're talking more for India, but worldwide, I think there is this kind of uncertainty on what is the next big trend.
Okay.
Institutional investors, which is also considered smart money in the terms of VC space and the private equity space, essentially, just invested whatever they had in their existing companies by the year 21-22. And today they are looking at and saying that, where should we really go and invest? If you look at India itself, all the international institutional investors have left the country, more or less, right? What is left are Indian partners who are now essentially juggling with Indian LPs and are saying, let's go local, let's go to tier 2, let's go to tier 3, let's find what are the kind of things that are very, very Indian. So that's the kind of trend we are seeing in India right now. From a China perspective, I think, they are taking on US on AI in a big way. And I think, we've always found the Chinese data to be, sort of smoke and mirrors. But we are seeing that they're taking on US in a big way. And US in itself is saying that AI is going to be the next investment, next big trend. So that's what they are focusing on. So just to give you a perspective, the AI race right now, I think US is winning. China is, just next. India is waiting and watching. We are investing, but we are investing more or less smaller dollars compared to what is happening worldwide. And these dollars are going right now in, more of AI agents than just the AI stacks. So that's what we are seeing.
Okay. So AI consumption, India being one of the biggest markets, but not really a place where we are building it. But the funny part, it's a catch and mouse, right? Because when you say that we are waiting and watching to see what startups actually do with it, what founders actually do with it, you're not really putting your money in there. So is this a phase of caution that I'm hearing from you? How will this really work? How will India really match up and catch up?
So it's again, it's one of those questions that always puts us in a spot, right? Because we say that we are the risk takers, but let's look at it from a capital perspective. India doesn't have that kind of capital, right? And when you're looking at meeting the kind of capital, even at a peak, when about $600 billion were being spent in a year, we were doing what, 10% of that. So at our peak also, we were just 10% of what the global money was. And this 10% was also contributed majority by international investors only. Now, when they are not there, we are now saying that, what is the government going to invest in? What are these family offices going to invest in? That's going to be just a very small patch of the total number of investments that can happen. So while we are trying to be risk takers, while we are saying that we will, try and win the AI race, the fact is that we don't have that kind of arsenal right now to really take on these big guys. So I think that's where we are. But
can I get a flip side to this?
Yeah.
Because of Trump in office now, there is a lot of caution in the US. That caution not really translating into money being pushed in. Is that what you're saying?
I think one could be Trump, obviously. The second, I think, is that overall everybody is waiting and watching. They've just invested large dollars, and if you look at equities life scale and life journey, it's a decade-long process, 15 years, 20 years. So when you take a perspective of 2 years, 3 years, it's a very short term in the sense of what is the life cycle of an equity.
Okay.
So over the last 2 years, I think 2 years, if you're just being a little uncertain, that's absolutely okay. Because you will then start finding the right trends to really back and to double down upon. But yes, one is obviously Trump. The other is that digital has had an end of an era. in 22. And the third is obviously, how the new companies will form, what's going to be the next take.
Sure.
Those kind of things are happening right now. So we are right now just amidst that.
Okay, so can we ask you a little bit about people's behaviors, investors' behaviors? I want to ask you, one of the criticisms I read most frequently about the sector, unfortunately, is this belief that there's a lack of risk appetite, and in particular when it comes to early stage. So I want to understand from you, what will it take to increase that? We talked a little bit earlier about the categories that are already receiving investments.
Yes.
So we talked about AI.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about the categories that generally have a hard time getting that investment. Why is there a lack of risk appetite? How do you analyze the problem? Is it inherently Indian, or is that not the right way to look at it?
Again, India, if you look at it, traditionally, whatever scale has happened, has happened because the VCs were able to take right bets based on what the international partners were doing.
Right.
Right. So what happens here, Toya, is that when you are investing in an early stage company, you're looking at who's the next big check writer. And the next big check writer is looking at who's the next big check writer.
Yeah, everyone, okay.
Right? So everybody's just looking who's the next big check writer and who's my elder brother who's going to come in and support me. Now, from an Indian perspective, for example, SoftBank, Tiger Global were the largest check writers. They have, fortunately, unfortunately, no longer writing large checks. There were these international investors in Sequoias and Matrix, and those have left the country, but their Indian partners have now taken up the mantle and they are now investing, so as to say. So overall, if you look at the supply chain of capital from an early stage to absolutely late stage, it's kind of broken now.
Okay.
Right? So early stage investors like angel investors and family offices that were writing, immediate checks, they tend to actually also work with, institutional money, right? So smart money, we call it the smart money. What is the smart money doing? And when the smart money's supply chain is completely broken, you really don't know what to and where to write the checks.
Okay.
So that's what's happening at the early stage. But what is the, just to give you another perspective, I mean, this is maybe sounding a little pessimistic, but to give you a little optimistic story on this, because of all of this capital that came in, what also started happening was that a lot of know-how went and a lot of knowledge on how to build companies has gone in. That's got democratized. Technology has got democratized. There are no-code solutions that have come in, right? So founders, on the other hand, and I'll give you a little perspective on the founder side. Founders are now saying that, do we really need large capital? We can build good companies, we can build positive economic companies, we can build unit economic companies just by building it correctly. And what I'm seeing as a trend now is that the founders are coming together and they are trying to say that we are going to, run a longer race. We are going to run it for, let's say, 10 years. We are going to possibly also build a company that we can sell in 3 years, 4 years.
Okay.
So you will see a rise of founder operators happening. So that's a kind of trend shift that we are seeing. The other shift that you just mentioned in the beginning.
Overall, you're seeing maturity of the sector.
Much mature.
Yeah.
The founders have become mature. And one thing that you started the program with was on family offices.
Right.
That is fortunately the backbone right now. So we are seeing, large family offices coming in. We are seeing family offices saying that, hey, we are not going to be looking at who's the next big elder brother for us. We are going to write a check. We are going to write a larger check. And we are going to take this company through to an IPO.
What kind of ties does family office investment usually come with? What are the drawbacks there versus, companies like SoftBank coming in that have now left?
So you invest in the public markets. I'll give you an example from there. If you do invest in the public markets, I'll take an example, a parable there, right? So if you look at just pure equity, because all of this startup ultimately is an equity game. So if you look at just pure equity investments, right, we say that you should be investing for the long run, right? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. There's a derivatives market, right, which is like for the traders, right, which is essentially an intraday or weekly trade, etc., where the institutional investors, the smart money is winning. And the retail traders are trying to find what the institutional investor is thinking so that they can make money. Now put that in perspective of startup ecosystem, it's exactly the same story, right? in a longer time frame of 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, if you invest, build well, you will be actually able to build better quality equity. But from a perspective, when you look at a VC's time frame, it's just 3, 5, 7 years, which is almost as the same as a derivatives market in the public markets, right? So they have to, or all of us, I mean, I'm on that side as well, but all of us have to actually invest because we have to give returns to our limited partners, right? That's what we are looking to do. And for that, a capital change is needed. Coming to the question now, and I made this as a base, coming to the question on what family offices, I think the positives are a family office can write you a large check initially, will take large equity, but will help you to build a company that they can essentially take you to an IPO. A great example, and I think I'm an absolute fan of Sanjeev Bhikchandani, right? Absolute fan of him. Because look at it, he is a traditional, he now comes as a VC because he's got a VC firm, but he is a traditional family office thinker, invests a large check, asks the founder to take a large check, give equity upfront, right? But helps them build the company properly, and then he's a master investor. So I think that's the kind of advantage you can get if you get to the right family office. They'll take a 25-26% equity, but they'll help you build, they'll help you grow, they'll help you keep,
It's a very fine analogy, but in the world of Shark Tank, we're talking about all of this, which is quite fascinating. We've come towards the end of our discussion, but I do want to understand, if somebody watching this today right now is looking for funding, is starting out or starting up, as they say just now, what areas do you think our VCs and investors gung-ho about? What are they positive on?
Okay. From the Indian perspective,
AI we mentioned, of course.
From the Indian perspective, apart from AI, which has been the flavor, I think we are seeing agri-tech essentially like a massive play where we can invest in, because again the supply chain in agro is still broken. We are seeing investments happening in digital transformation of traditional manufacturing. That is something which is very exciting, personally for us as well, but also for a lot of VCs. Fintech hasn't lost its flavor. So if you're in the fintech, we are still finding reasons, because in India, essentially India works on loan, right? So fintech is never going to go out of flavor. We are seeing again a lot of supply chain optimization kind of companies coming in. India again has a large non-tech population, so D2C also we believe hasn't gone out of flavor yet. So we are seeing a lot of good brands still potentially getting built. The likes of Zeptos and Instamarts, etc.
Quick commerce.
Quick commerce have given way to a lot of good D2C brands coming up.
Correct.
So we are going to see that, and of course anything in logistics, EV as a space is still not dead yet. We believe that there's been a motion in EV, but EV is a great space. I'll take a contrarian punt and I'll say education is still not dead yet. So we'll see a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening in the education space. If you are an early stage founder in education, this is a great time to build, to sell. Don't try to build it for 15-20 years. You can find a 3-year, 5-year horizon. Build education products right now that you believe will be useful by the larger education things. Because whenever you see a hype in the market, that's the time to get out of the market. Whenever you see a market which is absolutely dull, great time to enter.
Okay, I want to ask you one more question, Pranav. Tell our audiences, in the last few years, we've seen, for example, the Kamath brothers come out with an entire enterprise to fund younger startups. I want to understand Y Combinator and just what Y Combinator has given birth to in the US. A lot has been said in positive praise of it. What would it take to see more Y Combinators in India?
So this is a question which is very close to my heart. So as FAFC Venture Builder, we are trying to be the Y Combinator for India. Indian dynamics are a little different.
Let's just tell audiences what Y Combinator is for a second.
Okay. So Y Combinator is essentially now considered de facto the Harvard and Wharton for startups. Right? It is the largest accelerator program and an absolutely wonderful program, because not only do they write check sizes, they have a great network which really propels a founder to actually start growing in things. They have a great alumni base now, and they have great knowledge and knowledge transfer and know-how aggregated for founders to succeed. So I think Y Combinator is the de facto mecca for anybody trying to build something useful. In India, acceleration was till now a part of what was essentially seen as a not-for-profit. You had incubators and accelerators funded by the government, not coming with their own models. I'm seeing that trend changing. As I said again, as a venture builder today, one of our biggest programs, 1 to 10 Accelerator, is essentially like a Y Combinator model, where we have, over the last 10 years, essentially brought all education together. We've not only digitalized this, we brought AI into it. We are now saying that you can have your own platforms, learn on your own. We've got like a mentor pool of about 3,500-4,000 mentors. We've got 5,500 investors investing with startups. So we've built sort of that kind of a platform, nowhere close to what a Y Combinator is achieving, but we've had very reasonable successes. And we are now saying that India, essentially, again, you combine all of this, you get into media, you give them a little bit of PR, that opens up doors for founders to actually start, building together with institutions from day one. So that's one part. The second is that we're always trying to find something which is very relevant and differentiated. When you're working in an accelerator, you know what are the kind of problems your customer has. But when you get an access to like good mentor pools, you understand whether my product is differentiated or not. And that's something which is very important. So you learn the kind of tricks of the trade there. So that's something that is very useful that happens at an accelerator. And then there's always strategy and how you should be building your teams. How should you be financially prudent? How should you be looking at what are the kind of teams? How do you motivate them? What are the communication strategies? So there's so much that a founder can pick up over the first 15 months of building a startup. And essentially, it just helps you to organize, get a good check, and start winning in the market. So that's what. And Y Combinator, as I said again, we all aim to be Y Combinators at some point of time. So.
Well, here's wishing you get closer to that goal. Pranav, thank you so much for joining us and shedding light on such fascinating subjects. And I hope this was helpful to all our viewers watching to understand which way this is actually going. Thanks so much.
Right, an overview of the sector and also what they can do. I loved. All right, we're going to move on from this story. As interesting as it is, we're actually now going to move on to something entirely different. We're taking you to the world of cricket, where Chennai Super Kings fans were up yesterday watching their team beat the living daylights out of Mumbai Indians with 4 wickets in IPL 2025. This was a clash in which CSK essentially defeated its arch rivals Mumbai Indians by 4 wickets on Sunday to register their first win of the IPL 2025. They were playing at the MA Chithambaram in Chennai, and CSK chased down the target of 156 in 19.1 overs, losing 6 wickets along the way.
Now, New Zealand's Rachin Ravindra, he's been the flavour of the season, really picked over Devon Convoy, top scored with 65 runs of 45 balls. Captain Ruturaj Gaikwad also played a brilliant knock, scoring 53 off just 26. He hit 6 fours and 3 sixes and got to his 50 in just 22 for MI. 24-year-old debutant spinner Vignesh from Kerala impressed with figures of 3 for 32 in just 4 overs.
Earlier, Mumbai Indians had struggled. This is despite good batting conditions. They ended their innings at 155 for 9. They were in trouble early when Rohit Sharma was dismissed for a duck in the first over by Khalil Ahmed. Ryan Rickleton was bowled by Khalil soon after. And then you had Will Jacks, who fell to Ravichandra Ashwin in his comeback game.
Now, there's so much to decode from those matches there. Tilak Verma there at 31 and skipper Suryakumar Yadav at 29 tried to establish sort of that innings, but a sharp stumping by MS Dhoni ended Surya's knock before getting out. Surya completed 3,000 IPL runs for MI, becoming only the 3rd batter after Rohit Sharma and Pollard to do so.
Right, and after the conclusion of the CSK-MI match, when you had, lots and lots of very happy CSK followers, what you had take place was you had Chahar, he's known as a close friend of MS Dhoni, poking fun at his former captain, and in return, during the post-match handshake between the players of the two teams, Dhoni can be seen playfully hitting with the bat. The clip of that moment between the two was shared by fans on the internet, and within no time it went viral on the internet.
All right. On that note, we're going to slip into our first break of the episode. When we come back, we've got lots more to talk about, including our chat with our person of interest, Aditi. Stay tuned.
You work too hard. Hodri meydan, hodri meydan. Ezgi arkadaşımıza çok teşekkür ediyoruz. 25 dava açsınlar. O sandık kurulacak. Bu savaşı bana değil. Haklara döküleceğiz. Sandığa gideceğiz. Hakkını almaya geliyoruz. Üretenin kazandığı. İstanbul Valisi'ne sesleniyorum. Bu akşam burada İstanbul'da bir tarih yazılacak. Bunun karşısında durmayın, duramazsınız. Bu meydanda hepimiz gençler için, İstanbul için.
Welcome back. It's now time for our person of interest. Today on The Breakfast Club, we're joined by someone who's known for bringing both grit but also a touch of gentleness to all of her portrayals. This is Aditi Pohankar. Most recently, you'll remember her as the young wrestler Pammi in Ashram, where she stood tall against a godman's twisted empire.
All right, but today we are meeting Aditi, the storyteller. She'll walk us through the process behind prayer, a collaboration with her sister that dives into faith and fear, and what it's like to create in Hollywood and in Bollywood, beg your pardon, today. She's bold and brilliant, and she's here with us today. Let's welcome her on the program. Hi, Aditi. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. If we could, talk to you first up about how's your day looking like? We've had a brilliant startup start to the day. What is your ideal day like in the life of Aditi?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. And I like to keep things simple, but they should be eventful. In the sense, like, for example, if you ask me my routine, I wake up very early in the morning, like say around 4:35, and I start my day with spending some time with myself. Basic breathing exercises, which any actor, can benefit from. So I do that, and I make sure that I do not have like if I've done something yesterday, I do the same thing for the next 7 days so that it goes in my subconscious completely. Then I start my day with having a smoothie or something. I am a little bit of a fitness person because I had been an athlete, and I know the value of my body, because many a times when we have like there was a recent action sequence where I had a fall and I had a tear. So how important your body is, you only know it when it's like that body part is probably not working. Like right now my ankle is hurt, and it's so difficult to even barely walk across the street, right? So I make sure when I'm fine, I take care of myself. And I think I don't really I don't think about it so much of what I'm eating. I eat a very balanced diet. I'm a vegetarian. I've always been a vegetarian. And by 7 o'clock I eat my last meal, and then by 10:30 I try to sleep.
How lovely. You're very, very healthy, and you're also waking up earlier than we are.
Very regimented.
Yeah. Aditi, if we could ask you, many of the people watching today may not know, because you talked a little bit about sports, but many may not know that even both your parents were sports people. What is it like growing up in a house with two sports people?
Yes, sure. So I've grown up in a household which is full of my father was a 10,000 meter runner. My mother played hockey. So at that time, I really didn't believe it, because by the time they were parents, they were all invested in us, and I never saw them work out or go somewhere. they were doing what they were supposed to do as parents, which I'm really grateful to them for. But the atmosphere at home was always such that we always ate on time. We always ate in a, like for example, there was a balanced diet. We never sat on the table to eat. It was always preferred that you sit down and eat, and don't drink water after eating. These small small things, which kind of like it's like a sanskar that you are doing to your body. Like you say a prayer in the evening and you eat, so that there is some kind of a in Hindi, as they say, Agni Prajwal hota hai usse. Your digestion starts actually when the cooking begins, because the five senses start working on it. This kind of an information was always spoken about. My father was a food technologist, so he was very particular about growing us up with good food, but without any stress. There was never stress about not to eat chips or not to do this, not to do that. It was always about just eat on time. That's it. And they both were into fitness. They both were into. I think. I remember one thing, that if my mother was busy, like she was a teacher, and if she was busy, my father would take over the kitchen. So it was never like the food was going,
lovely.
the timings were going here and there because they were busy. So I never felt, that absence of they are just professing it and not practicing it. So I have taken that from them.
Aditi, talking about family, yours is one which has so many stars, and now we know that you are going to be doing another project with your sister, and she's directing it. You've just teased fans with a poster of something called a prayer. Could you tell us what's that all about, and also working with your sis?
Right. So between my sister and me, we share a terrific bond. Thank God that she says, "Thank God you were born," because I was born very late. We have a huge gap, my sister and me, and I was like there is another child who's born to like kind of save the family, and they're like, "Arey ye kaun bachcha kar lo," kind of thing. So I think I was born. Honestly, my mother used to say that to me. So I don't know if it's true or not, but I was born like that because I mean, the thing is that unless and until you have opinions, there is no family that happens. So I think that's how I came in, and because of that, what happened was, after me there was nobody, like there are no cousins or anybody after me. Like I was the last one then in the family, and there are like I have one cousin probably who's like my age kind of thing, but I was just like always taken, like spoken to and all that. So my sister and me always had that I won't say I would say like a mother. She took care of me because my mom passed away quite early. I was quite young and younger than her, and since then it was like a parent-daughter kind of a relationship up to a certain limit. But the best part about a bond is that we look at each other as individuals. So it's never that even if she wants to tell me that I don't think you should do this, I think this is not right for you, because she knows better since her experience of life will be more. But she would let me experience it. She would let me understand it. When I am not, when I don't know where I'm going, I would ask her for a solution, and that time she'll explain it to me that, look, now you have done this, next time don't do it. So, I think this is a great bond between an actor and a director also. And this just so happens to be that we are sisters and I'm getting along so well.
So sweet.
So, Aditi, some of the people watching right now will be watching and saying, but why have you not asked her about ashram? Because there's been so much excitement over the last few years about your work in ashram. Now, ashram's a very heavy show. It's one that has several political, societal undertones. There's a very clear metaphor and message being drawn there. When you pick up a script that has such implications, that is a powerful script like that, for you, is there ever a sense of nervousness while choosing a script like that?
So, everybody who knows me, they know that I pray a lot. And I also go to Mount Mary every night. I go from Juhu to Bandra almost every night, In fact, there are people there who are like at the candle stall and all. We are like friends. We meet and we are like, we chill and like, आज तो thank you बोलने हैं, आज तो ये करने हैं, that kind of a vibe. So I've always prayed to the divine that you give me scripts that will make an impact in the society, because that's why I am an actress. Otherwise I would have been an athlete, because I wanted to make a change and I wanted to be that change I want to see So when I pick scripts, I'm really not picking them. They are getting picked for me by the divine, and I'm just performing it. So what happens is now, once it's given to me, it becomes like a responsibility to go ahead with it. So yes, the role was meaty. I had no idea about it. I'll tell you honestly. When Prakash sir, when Shruti Mahajan approached me for this part, and she said, "Will you audition for it?" And I said, again the audition bit, and I'd just done She that time, so I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to skip auditions now because it's like such a scary. I don't know why it's so scary to give auditions. I've watched so many Hollywood actors in their interviews, and they're also so scared about it. So is this something about auditions and actors? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll audition. So I auditioned, and then when I audition, then I take some time. I understand the script, I understand the character. If I get the part or not, it's fine, but I need to do it properly. So according to me, so I, got the outfit and everything. Even for She, I got the outfit. I rehearsed in it. Then I showed it to Maxwell. Then I showed it to someone. And so people are like, "Oh God, Aditi's audition is coming now. She's going to hold us by the next 2 days. Yeah, how was this? How was that?" So I like the process of preparing for the test, because it's like the preparation is fun. Then if you get the part or not, it's okay because I've had the fun now.
Sweet. Now, talking about your on-screen roles, Aditi, what do you think are the trickiest parts of actually working with legacy stars like Bobby Deol? Bobby Deol in his 2.0 Avatar, this was again one of the biggest things that he did on OTT. Tell us something that we don't know already?
He comes prepared with all his lines. And we all are in pressure after that because he has huge lines. So we are like, even if it was Diwali the previous night, we were like, oh, no, chalo, rehearsal karte. Because if one actor is prepared, like, those people who come on time, it's in a way that whenever they come on time, you know that they're going to come on time, so you're automatically on time. It's like that.
Awesome. I mean, those are very high praises. Aditi, lastly, we'll ask you before we let you go, what's your dream project? So something you'd love to work on, or, just reference things that you've seen taking place around the world that you're like, this is something, that I want to get made in India.
Eternal Sunshine is something it's my dream part, because there are so many layers, yet there is simplicity in that. You don't always have to be intense. I think that's something I would love to play. And Amelie, both.
Amelie, oh wow.
All right, Aditi, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with whatever you're doing next. And thank you for coming in. All right, that was Aditi and a person of interest. It's time to move on the program and bring you stories from India and across the globe. We'll start with what's happening in Colombia. Colombia's last great ape, Yoko, on Sunday embarked on his journey from Pereira to a sanctuary in Brazil, marking a significant step for animal welfare in the country. The 38-year-old chimpanzee was transferred from Yucumari Biopark in Bogota, where he would now continue his trip to the Great Ape Sanctuary. Yoko has lived under the care of experts since 2018 after being rescued from adverse conditions linked to narco trafficking.
Okay, and now let's take you to something very different. What you're watching on your screens is obviously Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sharing iftar. It's a Ramadan fast-breaking meal, remember, with Ukrainian Muslim soldiers in Kiev. Remember, during Ramadan, believers abstain from food and drink during daylight hours, and they break their fast with this iftar evening meal.
To the Pope now, where he has arrived home to the Vatican after spending 5 weeks in hospital battling a life-threatening bout of pneumonia. It was an extraordinary journey home that saw him take 2 diversions, including stopping to greet a dog walker.
And then what you're watching on your screens right now is Tiger Woods, who has just confirmed that he is in a relationship with Donald Trump's former daughter-in-law, Vanessa Trump. Woods actually made an announcement about the news, saying, "Love is in the air and life is better with you by my side. We look forward to our journey through life together, and he made this announcement, going official formally with an on Instagram post to his 6.4 million followers. Remember, he'd famously divorced his ex-wife Ellen Nordgren years ago amid quite a bit of controversy. But he said, at this time, we would appreciate privacy for all of those who are close in our hearts.
Victims of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans who claim to have received faulty homes built by Brad Pitt's Make It Right Foundation are taking legal action against the actor personally and his non-profit organization in a class action lawsuit. The homeowners have recently achieved a significant victory in court, with the district court ruling that Make It Right must hand over crucial documents during the discovery phase of the lawsuit. According to the US Sun, Pitt has also attempted to block a deposition in the class action suit, arguing that it conflicted with his demanding movie schedule. All right, let's move on to some cars and bikes now. The all-new KTM 390 Adventure is here, and it's more versatile, powerful and stylish than ever before.
Overdrive took it out for a spin in Goa. What was their verdict? Let's take a look.
Hey guys, Christopher Chaves here and welcome to the Overdrive channel. Now we are out here in the lovely Goa to check out KTM's new 390 Adventure. Yes, it's one of the most anticipated motorcycles of our modern era, and of course this all new ground up motorcycle promises a lot in the sub 500 adventure category of motorcycles. It's got a host of new tech. It's got the engine from the Duke 390, that lovely LC4C engine, and of course a different chassis and all new dynamic overall. Now we have a limited time to check out what this motorcycle is all about, so let's get right to it.
In terms of design, well, here's where the new gen 390 Adventure stands out. Now, the first generation KTM Adventure series and the older model Duke had a lot in common. So much so that the previous gen KTM 390 Adventure could be seen as an afterthought of sorts, following the success of the 390 Duke. At the time, KTM simply put out an off-road focused version of its highly revered street bike. Now this time around, there's a deeper thought process involved. KTM wanted 3 sub 500cc motorcycles based on the same LC4 engine and mainframe. So, from the engine to the chassis and the subframe, this 390 Adventure is more purposefully designed. Now the bike has a more rally themed design this time around, and things like the big fender, the big 21-inch wheel up front, the 17 at the rear, tubeless spoke wheels, yes, they are patented by KTM, with that tall headlamp stack, fit with the windscreen, the wide handlebar and the flatter seat. This all looks amazing. While the only odd looking bit for me would have to be that blank portion around the display screen, which appears to be missing something. Now, the motorcycle comes equipped with a good amount of riding kit as well, in the form of a slip and assist clutch, the bidirectional quick shifter, which is great, and with a longer subframe, some more feasible proportions, this new generation 390 Adventure is a proper off-road focused machine. Now what sticks out like a sore thumb for me would have to be that underbelly exhaust, which you would assume tarnishes this bike's water wading capacity. But then again, some videos from KTM tend to prove otherwise. Sadly, we didn't get a chance to test that bit out here in Goa. You get a crisp 5-inch TFT display with a good amount of info on there, and the layout is nice and easy to decipher on the go. There's Bluetooth connectivity with call management, turn-by-turn navigation and music controls in there as well. And you also get a 3-axis IMU that allows lean-sensitive traction control and ABS. Then you have stuff like cruise control with this model, so there's a healthy amount of electronics on there. And there's the ride-by-wire throttle that gives you 3 ride modes and maps as well. So basically there's a lot for you to get settled in very nicely with this bike, and the new seating arrangement is quite nice on this motorcycle as well.
Now another cool thing about this KTM 390 Adventure, well, this second generation model, is the fact that the seat height is a lot lower than it was with the first generation model, and that is something that quite a few Indians will really enjoy, because according to KTM, that's the feedback that they got. with regard to the first generation 390 Adventure. So yep, right now, as you can see, really easy or a lot easier to get on astride the motorcycle. The seat height is rated at around 830 mm. It's around 25 mm lower than before. Thanks to a redesigned airbox, it is 25% larger than before. And yeah, the seat height has reduced.
Yes, it's great that the offset monoshock and the redesigned airbox have helped the average Indian feel better once he or she decides to swing a leg over this motorcycle. But it doesn't end just there.
Now, also considering the fact that it's a relatively flat seat, even your pillion won't suffer as much like getting on the bike if you're on the shorter side of things. Although this motorcycle has an underbelly exhaust, well, KTM tell us that the wading depth is rated at around 400 mm, which is just above the airbox, somewhere around here in this section. And yeah, so not too bad. They say that they have tested it. They have shut off the engine when the exhaust, the end of it is completely submerged in water, started the bike again and it cranked in one go. That's what we're told. Unfortunately, we can't test that theory out. Now the wheelbase is slightly bigger than before. The first generation model, it's up by around 30 mm. It's around 1470 mm if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, very agile, very nimble out on the road, even out here in slightly rough terrain.
In terms of performance, the new 390 Adventure packs that gem of an LC4C liquid-cooled single-cylinder motor, which is already known to throw a nice strong punch indeed. It puts out 46 PS and 39 Nm of max power and torque, just like the 390 Duke, but now it's hooked up to a 6-speed gearbox with a new set of ratios, and that is meant to improve on low-end tractability, in true adventure form. Now it runs a 4614 sprocket setup compared to the previous 4515 setup from before. Now this in turn has given the bike rapid acceleration, and KTM say that it is in fact half a second faster than the 390 Duke in a 0 to 100 sprint. Now it clocks the distance in 6.2 seconds, which on its own is mighty impressive, and it's all there to be felt when you ring the throttle on this one. Now another odd bit about the 390 Adventure for me had to be its handlebar. Now I did find the handlebar a bit low for my 5'9" frame, and I think the taller you are, the more you'll want to throw on some risers onto this motorcycle if you plan on standing and riding off-road. Now there's a good amount of power on tap to get you out of sticky situations, and the Apollo tires and the way the ABS is configured holds up very nicely as well.
Okay, so broadly a strong yes there. We're going to head into a quick break. On the other side, we have more for you. So do keep watching The Breakfast Club.
All right, it's time to take you through our special segment on the financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's start with how the markets are pegged to open this Monday morning. Indian markets are expected to open higher based on their GIFT Nifty value. A dovish comment by President Donald Trump on previous announcement tariffs helped the US markets close in the positive territory, so that's helping us as well. Asian markets are trading flat, however. Gold is trading flat while oil prices are marginally lower in early morning Asian markets.
Okay, let's take a look at a sector in particular. After 2 decades of fiscal conservatism, Germany passes a historic debt reform, and German fiscal expansion can boost, hopefully, EU-wide growth, leading to a stronger euro. 1 trillion euros of German capital investment is meaningful for many exporters. Many Indian defence PSUs could benefit from the EU's shift in focus and quantum of investment for upgrading its military strength. Now, you can, of course, log into Money Control Pro to find out more about the defence sector in particular, but also various other actionable insights on the markets. It's the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights that you're ever going to need, brought to you by Money Control.